Hello, everyone. Welcome into the Red Earth Production Studios for another edition of YBMcast with Matt and Brian. And we appreciate you joining with us today. We've come into the end of the summer season. Just want to say thanks. Game 7 Baseball did a great job again this year. We got some fall ball stuff coming up. As always, YBMcast is powered by Game 7 Baseball. Go to game7baseball.com. Get your fall on.
Get your fall on. There we go. Is that Game 7's logo? Or,
no, that's me. I just made that up.
Well, now
they
got a saying for fall of 2021 right there.
That's right. Get your fall on, baby. And the guys do a great job. You're getting your team ready, positioned, right, for you just coming out of tryouts, do a little fall ball, see what you got, right?
Yeah, that time of year.
Exactly. So check out game7baseball.com. Also, just real quick, Red Earth Productions, man. Need a video for your sports program, whatever the case may be. We can help you out. Give us a call, 636-400-3199. Matt, you've been tripping around the world, man, or at least around the United States.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of the country in the past 4 weeks, 5 weeks.
How is New Mexico?
Farmington, New Mexico, to be exact. Most people, it's about 3 hours from Albuquerque. It is the northwestern part of New Mexico. It's not far from that Four Corners.
Right. I've actually I've been in four.
So you've been there?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Been to Farmington. Yep.
So Farmington, people are fantastic. The people of Farmington are amazing. There's a lot of host families that take in all the kids. I mean, you got to think there's 120 host families. That's a lot of
And it's
families.
beautiful country up there.
Yeah, it's desert, mountains.
Yeah.
It's great. It's
really
a lot of history, a lot of old Wild West type of stuff. But it's the people are great, the town's great, and it's kind of like a Omaha, where for the College World Series, everything really evolves around what's going on.
And what Matt's talking about is Connie Mack World Series. The Midland Redskins 18U team was in that. Come up just a bit short.
Final Four. Lost in semifinal game, but you can't win every year.
No. Well, you won a lot of years, so
we won a lot, but you can't win them all. So hopefully next year.
A lot of crowds, like you said, a lot of an Omaha feel in that respect, and I think at the high school level, as you were saying, and I'm following the newspapers and seeing the crowds there. There's a lot of people coming out and watching baseball.
Yeah, I think they capped it at like 6,500 people, and then I think on average there was around 4,000.
That's pretty good.
The day games were a little more difficult, obviously.
Sure.
But once you got into the late afternoon, early evenings, it was crazy. Now when you have the host team playing, which is the team from the area,
yeah,
and they play the opening night, the Friday night game, that is like a Friday night high school football game.
Right. And if people aren't familiar with what the Connie Mack World Series is, go Google it. It also, I remember in Wichita, they did this every year. I think they still do it in Wichita. Not sure, but the National Baseball Congress, NBC World Series. And I remember it's teams like this coming in, but I think it's a little different.
I don't know if they still do that, do they?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either.
This has been back in like 2000, 2001. I watched some games. And you saw a lot of young guys, and I'm not quite sure if some of them were already in college. I'm not quite sure. I can't remember. It's been a while. I'd have to look it up myself. But there's a lot of these types of big events for these types of players, and most of these kids are committed D1 kids. They put these teams together, and they go and play in these tournaments. And they're a lot of fun because it's good baseball.
It is. Now, most of them, like WABC, there's rules. So you have to be from whatever area you're from. Mm-hmm. You have to have a certain amount of kids on your roster from that area, and then you can only have so many kids. They call them out-of-town kids outside of your region. So
I think that's fair, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's fair. Either way. There's a ton of talent. It's awesome. It's a great experience, It's one of those where the kids experience it and they don't know what they experienced until they left, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, this was amazing."
And as you were saying, they're staying with host families there, right? Because that's what I read. I was following you guys on Twitter, and they were talking about the host families.
Yeah.
And the junior college there, they were barbecuing for you guys, and real community aspect to that, right?
Yeah. So all the restaurants will do something for teams. The host families take the kids to practice, take them to games, wash the uniforms, feed them. But it's YouTube's got kind of a little history of the Connie Mack World Series through ABC, and it just shows you how people open their doors for these kids, and they have lifelong relationships.
Sure.
So there was the family. I met a family that hosted King Griffey Jr.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, and then they still talk to him. So whenever he got inducted into the Connie Mack Hall of Fame, he was there. They would see each other whenever he was playing professional baseball. They'd go to games, and he'd get them tickets. They'd go to dinner, hang out. They'd give him. He'd get him a bunch of stuff. Yeah, you spend 12 days in somebody's house.
Right.
That's a long time.
And you're shuttling them back and forth, and stuff.
They become your kid, and then your kids look up to those kids, and then when your kid's 15, 16, and he's watching Ken Griffey Jr. playing Major League Baseball, it's just
he was in my house.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, it's relationships.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's a million kids like that are playing professional baseball right now.
I think that's cool. So I think that's the experience of some of these things that people really don't. And I think we'll put that we'll have that link up in the show description for the YouTube, because I think that's cool. I saw you guys there was a gentleman that shared it on your Twitter account.
Yeah.
Kind of the history piece, and I hadn't had a chance to watch it yet, but I want to, so if you're interested in that, the Connie Mack World Series got a lot of history. There's a lot of history to it, and just what Matt was saying, I think that's so cool. And these kids, a lot of the kids that are there, I saw one player that was there playing with you guys. He signed with I think New Mexico.
Yeah, there's a couple kids that are going to play at New Mexico. The college.
That's cool.
So yeah,
that's cool. I've seen that college. It's a beautiful area too. It's really nice. So that's the Lobos, isn't it? New Mexico, or is that? Yeah.
I don't know. Mr. Producer would probably know that one. Nah. He can get us an answer in a minute.
I think it's New Mexico's the Lobos, New Mexico State's the Aggies. I think that's what it is. Pulling out the recesses of the old mind there, man.
Mr. Producer said he's right.
Dang.
There you go.
Hey, that's what I always say. I am a plethora of useless information, but it comes up in handy every now and again.
Yeah, you're good at those trivia nights.
So, but that's great, folks. If you get a chance, check that out about the Connie Mack World Series. You guys will be going back again next year, I'm sure.
Every year.
There you go. Looks like a lot of fun. And let me ask you something. Is that just your 18U Redskins team that does that?
Yeah, but now you have to win qualifier to go.
Sure.
So, other teams within the Midland organization can still go. So, like our 16U premier team just won the Mickey Mantle, ABC Mickey Mantle World Series. So that's the 16U team, and that was in Connecticut.
Oh, really?
So that was this weekend, too. They just won that. Yep.
And most people don't know about these tournaments like this, do they?
Some do. The problem is it's just like anything. You want to do a PBR event, you want to do a perfect game event, or do you want to try to win a qualifier to go to something bigger? It just depends on the team, depends on the coach, depends on the program.
Right.
But you can still do all the PBR and perfect game stuff.
No, I understand,
and still try to go win like a something like a World Series of some sort.
And I'll be honest with you, until we started talking, Matt, I wouldn't have known about the Mickey Mantle World Series. I wouldn't have, I had no clue.
Yeah.
So, where do you find that stuff? Where is that? And how much are people aware of that? Even clubs and people that are around here. If you want to, for instance, I'm following, and I've just come up with this. I know that they do this a lot, but it's now like the Cal Ripken. Cal Ripken has a big one.
Yeah, the Cal Ripken experience. Yeah.
There's a lot of kids from that 12U Midwest Mavericks team that follow us, and so I'm following them back, and they're playing on that Central Ozarks team, and they just went 7-0 to qualify for the Super 70, I think it is, Cal Ripken World Series. Just went 7-0, so it's a really good team. So I'm going to be following that, and that's kind of that similar type of thought process. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, to a degree. Like, I had meetings with the president of WABC and some other people, just throwing out ideas to get people more aware of what they offer and what they do. Because I think it's great what they do and what they offer. It's just, I think some people just need to know about it.
Do you think it's more regional though, too? Still a little bit.
I mean, there's teams from all over. I mean, that like the County MAC, there's a Northern California, Southern California, Texas, Oklahoma, Florida, South Plains, and then you've got Northeast. There's a New York team, and then there was another team from Northeast, and then you had the Ohio. So, I mean, there's local team. I mean, there's teams from all over.
Yeah, and it's funny because, that DBAT United,
which is based out of Texas.
Was it Texas? I thought it was Oklahoma. I thought that
Oklahoma team won the whole thing. DBAT United was Texas.
Okay. Because they were out of, I think, Enid. And
Enid
most people don't know.
Is Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nobody knows where Enid, Oklahoma is.
Most people don't.
No.
But they're not from there. That's just
right.
team.
That's where they headquarters. I get it. So, all right. Let's talk a little more about some prep baseball. We're finishing up the season. We're on the PBR site here. If you're looking to get into, we don't have Kevin on today. We're going to get Kevin back in and be talking and doing some more things with Prep Baseball Report with Kevin Mulder for Missouri. They got the fall underclass games coming up at Atkins Field in Columbia, Missouri. You can request an invite there, so make sure you jump into that. This is kind of cool. I don't know how much you know about this, but I was looking at their website, Matt, and they got the PBR and Pro Play AI partner to bring biomechanics assessments to amateur baseball. Have you seen this Pro Play AI before?
I have not.
It looks. They got a picture on the website here showing how they got the stick figure. So it looks like it's rolling you through. You can see your motion and all that. I mean, how much is technology really changing the game?
Well, that's been happening for a long time, but
but I'm not talking about. I understand at the pro level and things like that, but I'm talking about now. This is down into amateur, into youth baseball.
There's different technologies that obviously you use for the training aspect of it. The videos are important, but then the videos have, it's whether it's the skeleton showing how your body's moving,
sure,
or the lines you can draw on where you're, like, for example, it's really big with pitchers. Driveline really, here, right? Driveline really pushed that. So you're showing arm path, you're showing where the stride foot lands, you're showing the stride down the mound. You can show, are you leading with hips? It's, to use a driveline term, it's the eclipse of the arm path is what they call it.
Yeah.
So you see all of that. But the difference now is you've got Perfect Game and PBR implementing a lot of the Rapsodo information into all, and now what you're just talking about, implementing that into their showcases. So now your profile shows you all of this, so then the coaches can see it because they're all using it at the next level as well.
I was really after the Futures games that just happened, I went and looked at all the technical data that they put on the website. Now you got to filter through it. If you're looking, you got to, but man, alive. Yeah. It was amazing how much information was there. And you know what's funny, folks? Justin and I were watching the Cardinal game the other night. And Wayno's pitching, right? A little old school stuff, I guess. I mean, I'm sure he uses some of this, but I said, Justin, did you see what he just did? And Wayno come out on the mound. He's warming up first inning, right? Puts his foot where his drive leg, his foot where right there on that deal, and then runs his spike a straight line down from there. And I'm watching this, and I said, look at that, Justin. He's doing that on purpose. He sees that, and it gives him an idea of where he's landing and making sure throughout the game. And as he's warming up, his plant foot, hit that line every single time. It was a mechanism to help him understand how he's driving and where he's going with his plant foot, and he can look down for a moment and see where he's landing. And I think this is great in these respects and whatnot, but I thought that was interesting to me. Here is Adam Wainwright setting himself in a place where he can see what he's doing throughout a game.
Yeah, it's very similar to where if you're in a facility and you've got a mound and you put a piece of tape that goes down the center from the rubber down the center to show where you're finishing on your stride. I've never seen him do that specifically. It could be something new. It could be something since he's older now and he's not just throwing 98 miles an hour. He's pitching now.
Right.
Not that he wasn't pitching before, but you know what I mean. He's got to focus more on changing speeds, hitting spots, and can't get away with a 98 mile an hour, or you can get away with a 98 mile an hour fastball down the middle. You're not getting away with 88 down the middle. So,
right.
But it's just where the game. Technology is taking over all sports in general, with replays. Take Farmington. They had replays there.
Did they really?
Yeah, you get a replay. So.
On the big board, or just
no? It's like in house. So they call to the press
call.
box and they put their headset on, just normal. Yeah. So it's one of those, you use it and you win, you keep it. If you use it and you lose, then you lose it.
You lose it.
Yeah. But that, and then you're talking about biometrics, hips, shoulders, arm path, landing spots. And then you can turn it around on hitters, and you can see the balance on the weight, the hips, the drive, the bat path.
Because, and I think that's the big one with hitting. When you're looking at this, and I don't have a picture here, but that's okay. With that stick figure, you can look at that A-frame that you have and that balance. And it's one of the things that I think I see a lot with technology, and how does it help you create that consistency in what you're trying to accomplish with your swing, with your pitching motion, your consistency, even with your fielding. Correct? You could do it with. I'm sure you can do it with that. They have a picture of a pitcher, but then you have blast motion. You have what?
There's blast motion. There's TrackMan, blast motion, diamond kinetics. You have hit tracks.
Right.
Hit tracks is more
about exit velocity.
It's more gamey.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you could also just take an iPad, film it, and draw on it.
And I want to go back to this because we were watching this. This is back in 2021 2020 when we did the winter workout with the gamers and what they were using. We're walking through, and they had these guys over, and it was designed by the guys for golf swings,
right?
And they had re-engineered it for baseball. They strap it around, and on the arm. And it was just basically this, seeing that bat pass, seeing the swing. And so, you're into this as a youth baseball program. That is definitely changing the trajectory of sports. from that youth level up into the pro level.
Yeah, 100%. The one thing about technology that you have to be scared of is it's technology. It's like buying a TV. I'm going to buy a TV, but then a year later, there's going to be something a lot cooler. Right? So
Right.
you have to hit that point where I'm buying a TV where now Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, all this stuff is already in my TV. I don't have to get the devices, the sticks. So once you get to that point, you're like, cool, this is going to last for a few years. I'll get my money's worth. It's here. It's the same with technology. Something can come out, and you're like, this is awesome. But then something's going to come out that's either better the next year. You have to wait to see what is going to stand the test of time.
Right.
So like Rapsodos, they've been around for a while. So it's actually something that they're upgrading. It's getting better. HitTrax, for example, they had HitTrax originally when they had it was a big old device. It was hard to set up, but it was really cool. It was really awesome. And then the whole device has shrunk significantly, and now it's gotten better. So it's easier to set up so you can get all the dynamics and the numbers that you want to get. But if you bought it originally and you spent the $25,000, now you can buy it for, say, 15, 20. It's better. It's easier to move. It's easier to set up. You get more out of it. Some of these other ones, though, they just have upgrades. But
Sure.
It's really the device itself. Like Rapsodos, they're not big. They've gotten easier to set up.
I think it's very
Blast Motion's another one that's gotten
Yeah.
easier to set up.
I think it's interesting when technology starts and the things that go. If you're investigating, you're looking at technology, Matt. How upgradable is the product? Is the software? Has the company thought long term? So when you make that initial investment, is it going to be something that can be I can continue to use long term with minimal extra cost to upgrade or move or where they're going? And I think that's important, right? Especially as a youth club.
Well, yeah, so you've got to think, okay, if I'm going to spend money on, let's just take, Pitch AI or Pro Play AI, whatever that one is specifically. It's biomechanics, biometrics. If I spend $20,000 on this program,
Mm-hmm.
what is it worth to parents? Because you're investing money. At some point you want to recoup your cost for what you purchased.
Sure.
So how much can you charge somebody to come and use this device?
Right.
And then who's teaching it? That's the big thing.
Right. So there's a lot of investment questions in the technology.
There's a lot of variables that go along with instead of just buying it and figuring it out. Otherwise you're going to have a facility full of stuff that's not getting used.
Right.
You have over $100,000 worth of technology sitting there.
I think that's an interesting point, what you said. Who's going to be using the product and using it to instruct, and who knows how?
Right.
And do you have that person, and can you afford to bring that person in? Who is that? And I think those are all questions when you start talking about technology maybe we don't think about when we see it. We go, ooh, that's cool. But is it the right investment? When do we invest, and how do we invest?
Well, that, but also you could take, like I said, you can take an iPad, you can take a phone, and you can take video, slow it down. You can draw on it to show the exact same thing that they're doing.
Yes.
Now,
Yeah, that's old school stuff.
Correct. That's yeah, exactly.
That's what we did.
But now if you said now these things offer so much more than that. But I'm just saying the basic stuff is you can just look and show and do all that stuff. It's fine. There's different ways of approaching it. It really just depends on your budget, depends on what you want to charge, depends what people want to pay. There's just a lot that goes into technology in general. But there's so many cool things out there that are really cool.
Yeah. And I think that goes to when you're talking about technology, I think it gives the player, especially a younger player, the opportunity to see, and I think it brings an understanding to the language that the instructor's using. Sometimes I think it's just that disconnect. The instructor may be talking and saying all the right things, the language that they use and whatnot, but can the pupil, the hitter, and that's not a knock on their intelligence, not that. it just have they got the mental acuity to visualize those things? And this is where all of this technology comes in, and being able to show them, when I say this, this is what I mean. And that, to me, is the biggest part of the technological breakthroughs that we've had in baseball, especially. And I don't know, though. It doesn't seem to have helped the major league hitters. I don't know. Lowest batting average ever. I'm sorry. I said that out loud. But nonetheless, here we are.
That's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
Or conversation.
But agreed. And I think it's helped instructors be able to apply information in a much better way.
Well, yeah. The pros and cons. I mean, the con is too much information at one time.
Overload.
You're just overloading kids with stuff, and you've got to dumb it down for everybody. You start using some of the terms that Driveline uses. These kids don't know what it means.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you're talking about like, hey, a platonic and an eclipse, and some of them are like, what are you talking about? Like you have to no matter what, you got to dumb it down. Now, if you start showing them, this is why you're going to do these drills for these 4 weeks, because I can draw this and I can change this and I can do X, Y, and Z. That's a different story. I mean, that's awesome. It's okay. Here, I'm showing you because people want to see it. I could tell you till you're blue in the face, but when you see yourself actually doing something and doing it incorrectly, then this is what it looks like when it's correct. But that's hitting or pitching, it doesn't matter. But yeah, so they're partnered with them, and they're partnered with them, and they partnered with Driveline.
There you go. Last thing, we're not going to get into a bunch. I enjoyed the technological conversation there, especially as you're talking about, and we've been talking about this through the tryout process, and I know you've been running all over, so we haven't had a chance to have this conversation. But real quick, you're now the president of a very larger scope of clubs around the country, one locally. When you're talking about these things, when parents are coming, what is your advice to parents when they're bringing their kid to a tryout? What should parents look for if they're looking for a club? They see, okay, my son has some talent. What's your take on that?
My advice to parents when they take kids to tryouts, I always advise people to be realistic on their kids' abilities, whether that's be realistic that, hey, my kid's really good, or realistic that my kid's just an average player.
Sure.
Because everybody wants to play on the best team, but your kid doesn't always belong on the best team. Do you want to be number 17 on 17 kids, or do you want to be in the top 5 or 6, or do you want to be in the middle? I mean, it depends on the age, depends where they're at. The tryout itself, there's so many different ways to try kids out. If you've got a small group, it runs a lot faster. If you've got a big group, it takes a lot longer. It's kind of like when you go to showcases like Lindenwood hosts a showcase and you have 150 kids. They let them hit live. They let them do a lot of different things. It takes all day.
Right.
Which at a tryout, if you get 150 kids, you're not going to be there all day. Everyone's going to get their 5 ground balls, 5 fly balls, 5 swings. Who stands out, who doesn't. That's just how it is. It's the nature of the beast. Love it or hate it. Nobody wants to be there for 8 hours.
Right.
But if you get a small group and you get guys that know what they want, know what they see, you could be in and out of there in 45 minutes. You could be in and out of there in 35 minutes. Right? I mean, you could say, hey, my kid got 12 ground balls. He plays the outfield. He got 12 or 10 opportunities to show. He hit. He got 15 swings. He threw on the mound for 15 pitches. Most coaches, if you know baseball, you know what you like. A kid shows up, you watch him play catch. Right away, you see kids playing catch. Okay, I like how he moves, I like how he throws. Watch him take ground balls, take fly balls. You're watching him move. You time him home to first, home to second. You're watching him move. This can get done very quickly.
Yeah.
So I think some people get upset, if you said, hey, I'm sorry, we're going to pass on your son. You just, for our roster, for this team specifically, he just doesn't fit what we need. Well, you only worked him out for 45 minutes. You need to watch him play games. Well, I don't think that's going to change my mind.
And it may not. And you know what? that's their prerogative.
100%. But at the same time, it's being realistic. Look, these guys know what they want. They know what they see. And if you're trying to make a bigger team, a national team, again, when I say national, I mean kids from across the country on one team, not just a team saying, hey, we're a national team because we play national tournaments.
Right.
We're a true national team. We have kids from all over the place.
And I think that's a great distinction.
And because there's a lot of people that say national nowadays that have teams across the country, and they have all their kids are from 3 high schools.
Right.
That's not a national team. That's a local team. You may be really good.
Playing on a national level.
Correct. But those kids that try out for those teams, it's a completely different conversation. Because the kids could be good, but do they want to travel? Can they afford to travel? Do they want to pay for hotels? Do they want to pay to get there? Do they want to spend their summer on the road?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot more that goes involved in that, and those kids are normally being recruited by Division I schools already, or have committed to Division I or high-end JUCO schools, which there's really no difference.
Because we're seeing and the reason I bring this up is we're seeing the Twitters, the Facebooks, and all the stuff coming out now on the social media. Why are they doing this? My kids should have been here. Or we have all the stuff that's happening now that normally happens. Mm-hmm. And, I think this is why I believe this conversation needs to be had and had as much as possible for people to hear. Understanding what youth sports are. And not every player is an elite player. Look, you're an evaluator. You see talent all the time, right?
Yep.
Okay. If I took my child to your tryout and I went up and asked you honestly, look, Matt, you saw my kid, is he good enough to make your top team? And you say, no, not at all. I'll tell you what, he's good enough to be here. This is what I think of him. This is where it is. Do parents actually take that honestly? Do they take that information and apply it to their kids?
Well, I don't know.
That's a good question, right?
I don't know how other people parent, but most people, you don't get a lot of programs. You don't get feedback unless you ask for the feedback itself,
right?
Because it's really difficult to say, "Hey, I'm going to give feedback to 100 kids."
Exactly.
Time constraints. I mean, all of that. But if somebody asks and you give it what you think, and then they argue with you about what your thought is, that's a problem.
I agree. I concur.
Because they will, well, you need to see more of them. Well, you need to see this. We saw enough. You're asking for an opinion, and we're giving you an opinion. Your opinion's different than our opinion. Somebody else's opinion may be in line with what you want. The other thing is if you want to play on a team, this would be my advice to a parent. If you want to play on a specific team and they're on the border of taking you, it's not, hey, let me sell my kid to you. It's, what do you think my kid needs to do to get better? Bingo. That is it. Right there, that's it. Because if you go and say, well, hey, my kid plays shortstop, you have a shortstop. Yeah, well, you can play second. You can play third. He can play third. He can play second.
He's not a second baseman. I hear that.
What can my kid do to get better? What do you think he's lacking? Because if I said I think he's lacking footwork defensively and speed on the bases, somebody else is going to think the exact same thing that I think.
Yeah.
So you now know, okay, I'm going to take in what these people think, and we're going to work it to get better.
Yep.
So you take a team. I know a team right now. They're based out of Louisiana. They're all in college now. This team had 12 D1 kids on it. Majority of them were either LSU, Auburn, Louisiana Monroe, or I think Texas Tech was the other one. Most of them went to those 4 schools.
Okay.
3 shortstops on that team. All went to college to play shortstop. but they also knew third, second, short. They pitched. They could do different things.
Right.
And at no point did any of those parents get upset because there's a shortstop coming in. It was, my kid needs to work harder to prove that he belongs over the other two. And look where all of them are.
That's good advice, right?
What can I do? What can my kid do to get better?
Rather than jumping on the social media and saying, the program, they don't know. You know, if we're taking them to the tryout, we have to trust that the evaluators that are there and trust their opinions. Ask the questions, and I've been saying this for a little while. And I think that is the key, and I think that would change a lot of the dynamics in youth sports if we would do that more. I really do.
And it's not, the thing that I probably hate the most is, well, my kid is better than John's kid.
Yeah. Or
how does he compare to these other kids? It's not about anybody else's kid. I don't like talking about other kids to parents. I talk about your kid only, because it's not fair to anybody else. But you have the conversation about your son or your daughter, whatever sport you're playing.
Right.
And that's it. That's it. Nobody else but you.
There you go.
And sometimes you don't take kids because of the parents, which is really sad, but true. I said it, and you know it's true because you feel the same way.
It's true.
It is true.
And that's what's tragic, because all it does, and that's not fair to the kids sometimes.
No, it's not.
And that's what's tragic. And folks,
when they get older, it's different. The high school kids, that's completely different. But the youngest, when they're younger,
man,
some parents just aren't worth dealing with.
The hassle. It's
100%.
True. So, folks, we hope you enjoyed the conversation. Remember, if you like what we're doing, please hit the subscribe button. It's right underneath there. You can see it as you're watching here. Subscribe. Hit the dinger, because that's what we do around here.
We hit dingers.
That's right. I like dingers. And so please, we appreciate that. Leave a comment. If you disagree with what we said, please leave a comment. We'd love to hear what you have to say. Yeah. We're okay. We want the conversation. We look forward to it. A lot of information. We're going to have Kevin Mulder back around. We'll have Matt now that he's back in town and not running all over the country. Well, you're still going to be running around the country a little bit.
We'll be all right.
So we'll get back to some more baseball through the fall here. Everybody have a great day in the Lord. All you pitchers, keep throwing strikes, and you hitters,
hit them where they ain't.
Good advice. We'll see you next time.